बातें साझा की और ख़ासकर उन सभी जो यहाँ पे प्रदर्शनी में आए लोग हैं, उन सभी ने एक बात जो कही कि एक बहुत बड़ा मंच है। और हम अब सीधे रुख करते हैं हैदराबाद का, जहां बजट के बाद वित्त मंत्री बहुत ही खास इंटरव्यू डीडी न्यूज को दूरदर्शन को दे रही है। आइए सीधे रुख करते हैं।
Led by our Finance Minister for India's transformation from a developing nation to a developed one with a fully self-reliant and vibrant economy. It is the budget that empowers the aspirations of all sections of the society, the poor, the villages, middle class, women, youth, and the industry, be it infrastructure, health, education, agriculture, rural development, IT and digital sector. The budget gives big boost to all. The budget has been lauded by all, from common person to industry, as it has something for everyone. Madam, we are very happy to have you among us. For the post-budget conclave of Doordarshan for the second consecutive year, last year you came to Chennai and led the discussion in the presence of industry and media. In the words of Honorable Prime Minister, first budget of Amrit Kal lays a strong foundation for the aspirations and resolutions of a developed India. Our theme of the day is also the budget of Amrit Kal. All of us here are eager to listen to Madam Finance Minister. I once again welcome you and everyone else present here to the DD Dialogue. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, sir. I welcome again all the distinguished guests and members of the media for your presence today. We have a bouquet of sessions lined up for you, beginning with a special interaction, followed by a Q&A session. I invite moderator Shubhendu Ghosh to conduct the session.
Thank you.
Over to you, Shubhendu Ghosh.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, ma'am. Namaskar and welcome. This is DD Dialogue on Union Budget, Amrit Kal Budget. Amidst a rather bleak global economic environment, India continues to be a shining spot, and perhaps therefore the Union Budget, the road ahead, becomes very, very important. And we are, it's wonderful to have among us someone who has been the architect of the budget, someone who is known to have steered India's economy through the turbulent period of the pandemic, and now seeks to take it forward on a growth trajectory. Honorable Finance Minister Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman, ma'am, warm welcome to this conversation, ma'am. So the way we hope to move forward is there'll be a brief conversation between us, and then we'll keep the stage open for some questions from the audience members. And it's an August gathering. There are leaders of the industry, entrepreneurs, and members of media who are going to be putting the questions, ma'am. When the economic survey came up, ma'am, it made a profound statement about how the recovery period from the pandemic is over now. It must mean a lot for the populations who have gone through the pandemic, ma'am. What were then your priorities when we were giving a final shape to this budget?
Well, the priority is to keep the growth momentum as it is, and also to make sure that we further support measures for sustaining growth. So growth is the one focus. But within that, of course, even as we do that, to be inclusive, to make sure that those who desperately need help or those who need to be supported, we will support them. And be conscious of the fact that challenges which are extraneous to India, external challenges, will have to be kept in mind. We should be ready for any unpredictable events from outside of our border. Economic challenges which is even today prevalent in terms of the fuel and fertilizer and also food. Fertilizer is coming down a bit, but even then it is a factor which is beyond us. These were the primary concerns.
Right, and when Prime Minister spoke on the budget, ma'am, the very first statement he made was how the budget is meant for the deprived sections. Now, as the pandemic and its impact gets over, what does the road ahead then look for this deprived, weaker sections? What does the budget offer to give them wings to go forward?
Well, to start with, it gives the free food for 1 more year. And that is to ensure that no fluctuation can affect basic cereal and some protein which has to reach them. The focus again for the common man and the weaker sections is to ensure that their businesses are supported, their education is supported, the opportunities which are available for them to skill themselves is also given enough provision. So the SC, ST, OBC, backward, general backward and other backward are all kept in mind when we plan a scheme. And this time particularly, one opportunity was fully seized in that you all are aware that for all the schemes, whether it is the Awas Yojana, whether it is the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, whether it is the LED bulbs in streets, or for the Mudra, sure that those health indicators and also the fundamental infrastructure indicators are all reaching them. In other words, even in a well-developed state, there can be a district where the facilities have not reached as much, and even within that district, which is the aspirational district, there could be some who belong to these weaker sections who have not received any. So the focus is going to the last point and making sure that all these schemes will reach those eligible for those in those areas. So that you are aware of. Now that saturation has gone down to the level of the mandals, where we were talking about 116, 114 aspirational districts and reaching eligible population there with the schemes which are all funded by the center. We have now identified 500 blocks even further down from the districts and saying that in those blocks we will aim at saturation. In other words, the ultimate beneficiary, if he is eligible for any one scheme and if he is remaining untouched, we will reach out to him as well. So one, the scheme, all these schemes are aiming at the weaker sections, and particularly within them the SCs and STs and OBCs. Then we went with the focus of looking at aspirational districts that may remain untouched, uncomprehensively not developed. Then you looked at the blocks, then even their saturation. Even within this, one highlight of this budget, some of the primitive tribes, they may be in 1 or 2 districts. They may or may not be districts which are aspirational. But yet, because they are primitive tribes, there was this very clear feeling in the Tribal Affairs Ministry that even saturation for them may not reach as much as you would want. So, a separate allocation has been made in the budget which will reach saturation in that community.
Right.
So that those schools which are prevalent and which will be set up in tribal districts will have the priority of 38,000 teachers being recruited and being sent to those schools. Over and above them, other than the teachers, other staff are also being recruited.
Right. Ma'am, if you talk about the vision of growth-oriented budget, capex expenditure is at the heart of it. 3 years in a row now, this is now upwards of 10 lakh crore. Your assessment of the previous years, from the pandemic year especially, when the capex expenditure was at the highlight of the budget, the manner in which it is cascaded into growth and job creation, and therefore what expectations can we have from this unprecedented high capital expenditure plan in the budget?
Since 2020-21, this emphasis on capital expenditure continues. It started then and it continues. And the incremental addition that we are making is not lesser than what it was before. 30%, 31%, 34%. that is also increasing. If I just can call the absolute numbers, it's some 3.5 lakh crores, 5.5 lakh crores, 7.5 lakh crores, 10 crores, 10 lakh crores. After the first one, every year we have also made a separate allocation for the states. So 1 lakh crore and now 1.3 lakh crores, which is being 1.30 lakh, 1.30 lakh crores, which is being given to the states as a 50-year interest-free loan which they can spend within that year. And we are not even saying for which project. Even a project which has been started by the state but which doesn't have the last mile funding, this money can be used and they can complete that project as well. So the state's participation has also been drawn in, and the rest of the amount goes to the various departments of the center. To pointedly answer that question, we have found that the appetite in the states has actually gone up, and their performance as well, in that the monies that have been given to them have also been near fully utilized. There are some of them who still have to give us utilization certificate, and after all there's one more month for 23 to end, financial year 23 to end. So there is a lot of interest in the states. Many, particularly the northeast states, have realized that they could complete many of the long pending capital projects. This has given a lot more priority for the states to see how best, other than the money which is coming from the state for projects which are anyway happening for the 10 lakh crore, or in the last year for 7.5. The
policy maker, what were your key learnings, ma'am? In the sense, we look at nursing homes getting focus alongside the medical colleges in the budget, but broadly, what learnings from the pandemic do you take forward in the budget?
Even that very year, we set up at every district level an institute of testing for virology related. So that was the immediate thing. At a time when the pandemic struck us, we had only 2 centers in this country which could test samples of any viral infection which was going around. Even within that year, we increased that to about 200 of them. Now, that year also we made an announcement that we will be setting up centers for virology all over the state. Now, hospital capacities have also increased. Even without the pandemic, we have been bringing in AIMS in every state. So, very good referral hospital of the kind of All India Institute of Medical Sciences has been set up. You rightly referred to places where 157 medical colleges were established between 2014 and now. We are giving additional new, but attached to that hospital which has been built, medical nursing colleges. So 157 medical colleges which have been established between 2014 and now will also host a new set of nursing colleges, so that there is a synergy. We need to build capacities, and within India the number of medical seats have also gone up, so that we have more and more doctors getting trained and coming out. We have also set up this upskilling idea, where for international recruitments we need to train our people in not just the skills, but also in giving them the capacity of languages which are so important for them to be recruited for jobs elsewhere. That will also be applicable for medical and health service personnel.
Right, and ma'am, the element of jobs for youth empowerment, the manner in which the budget addresses the needs of Industry 4.0, we see skill development in AI, in coding, in robotics. How do you see these particular elements and opportunities really helping us capitalize on the demographic dividend that we have? I mean, we're soon going to be the most populated nation, the young population. How do you see these skill development programs helping us take it forward?
Not just within India, but also abroad.
Certainly.
There is a clear demand for Indian youth who can help in coding, in AI, in using technology for services. and also to make sure that people who are trained in these areas are sought after, and therefore in order to ensure that they are given adequate skills, we want to provide these skilling and training of people. The reason why we want to do it is also because domestically, today in India, Industry 4.0 is something which most companies, most industrial units, most integrated plants, most newly set up units, and also the sunrise sector and the PLI supported sectors are all tech savvy in their very nature. They are all becoming, their productions are becoming tailored through a lot of technology driven processes. They too want manpower where the person seeking the job has the right skill sets. So you're not training Industry 4.0 fit youngsters, but they're all going outside. Even Indian industry, in the process of expansion, are now using technology for their own production, that they also are seeking manpower who are with these skill sets. So training them for artificial intelligence or skilling them for that for Industry 4.0 will also serve the job requirements within India, so that they can both be eligible here and also look for jobs wherever they want.
Ma'am, one of the areas in the budget which is of particular interest to many of us, of personal direct income tax, the questions about new regime versus old regime. I remember when you were delivering this speech, there was a bit of a suspense when you mentioned about the tax rebate limit up to 7 lakhs, and you mentioned it's only for the new regime. Now, many who still are part of the old regime would argue that it did inculcate a sense of saving, and if you save, you would get exemption. So it was the cycle of saving and exemption, one would argue. And it's difficult to then look at the benefits of the new regime per se for those of us who are already for many years engaged in the old regime. How do you present the argument for the new regime in such a context, ma'am, especially saving and exemption idea?
I have a bit of a worry about the way in which we present the old scheme. Suddenly we seem to think, oh, that incentivized saving. Probably it did. But are we still in that kind of a, as they say, ma-bap Raj, a patronizing government behind us who will tell me what I should. I'm sorry to have to bring in a comparison which is not probably very appropriate. Today people tell us, oh, you don't tell us what we have to eat. Oh, you don't tell us what we have to do. Oh, you don't tell us what kind of value systems we'll have to impart to our children. So I've taken that a bit clearly in my head. So I don't need to say where you'll have to put your money for saving or investment. Isn't that also by logic a stretch that you can give reasonably? A person who earns his money is the best person to decide as to where he wants to put his money in. He's taking care of his family, he's running his family, he's protecting his family with insurance, with health cover. Why would we want to underestimate his capability to know where he has to actually put his money for saving? So, do I do that? Do I do things in the new regime also to give him that capacity? Yes, I do. If earlier old regime gave you incentives through exemptions to save, incentive through exemptions to insure, I'm giving you an incentive in that the rate of tax for your salaries have come down. I've also brought it in that your exemptions are provided, your standard deduction is also now provided for the new regime. That's the incentive. You have more money in your hand, use it the way you want. So that's the argument. And above all, old regime, all of us would want to take the benefits of the exemption, but we'll also say, oh my God, it's so difficult to comply. You want in this day and age, digitized, I sit at home and file my own assessment forms. You have to make it simple. The new regime is all simple. It will come up with a form which is the new default form, which is the new one. You just enter it there and you are all done. But you have to say that you want to be in the old regime, which means you want to put it upon yourself that the compliance will be more strenuous, more time consuming, more rigorous. You want to make a choice.
Right. Ma'am, if we shift the conversation to the agriculture sector, we see the budget bringing in the advantages, the strengths of Digital India into agriculture. There's also an accelerator fund for agri-tech companies. We've seen many agri-tech companies coming up in the years ahead. How do you see the collective strength of these digital reforms transforming the lives of farmers ahead?
I expect, together with what is happening in the computerization of the cooperatives, the PACs are all getting computerized. There is a national e-marketing system which is already into play. We've also come up with a system through which startups can do things for value addition, and that is also going to bring in, through technology and through the startups, an advantage to the farmers so that they can choose the market, they can choose how to store it and choose the day when he wants to sell his product rather than rush with his freshly harvested crop and not gain in terms of price that he can otherwise fetch. So by bringing in the startup, by bringing in technology for marketing and storing, by making sure the agri cooperatives are going to be multi-purpose, not only just multi-state but multi-purpose, wherein they will be also spending money to establish storage silo, which is not tailor-made. It's not one size fits all. Each state, in fact within the state as well, the cooperatives can all decide as to what kind of storage they want for the crop which is grown in that area, and so on. So when you're doing this, and also this emphasis on millets.
Yes, I was just going to come to that.
Sri Anna. And because of that, you are able to now bring in those who grow in semi-arid areas.
We are in Telangana.
Telangana, known for growing ragi, millets, jowar. Similar North Karnataka, which was once under the earlier, Nizam's territory, where all of them were dry areas. Amravati, the southern Maharashtra, northern Karnataka, Telangana, all of them are known for growing Sri Anna. So we can now give them better price and also better value addition. The number of startups who have come into this area is amazing, and I think they will transform it. So the question of how do you think this is going to transform
for the farmers?
It is going to be transforming different aspects of farming. So I can't give you one answer of saying this will do this one for. The drones have made a big difference. Today for spraying the urea or the fertilizer, any other fertilizer, or even any organic pesticide which a farmer would want to use, drones are doing efficient spraying of the whatever material far more effectively in shorter time. So many areas I've seen myself that farmers have readily gone into using them.
Ma'am, I just want to add one point to it about millets. There are many millet startups who've also come up, who are presenting millets in a more edible and popular forms. And one concern that they raise is that so over the decades, the focus that we've had on wheat and rice, the infrastructure ecosystem is suited for that. And for millets, the kind of encouragement we're giving, it also needs a parallel infrastructure which is unique to the needs of the millets farmer. So do you think this focus would also extend to creating millet-specific infrastructure, ma'am?
Well, now that we've said Sri Anna, we'll have to probably do something.
Okay, ma'am, and moving forward, green transition is a priority across the country, across the world. We've seen initial inlay for green hydrogen development, ma'am. We see electric vehicles around us. They're not very affordable as yet, though, for many, but the numbers are increasing. Your assessment of because we are transitioning for sure, but your assessment of the speed at which we're doing it, ma'am. Are you satisfied with it and the provisions that the budget makes to give it more acceleration?
Not just on hydrogen.
Not just on hydrogen, of course. On EV and batteries also.
Much more than I assess what we do in terms of green transition. World over, there is an appreciation at the pace at which India is spending time, resources, policy making, all for enabling the green transition. Look at the speed with which, and from our side, I think as a consumer we'll recognize, when per unit was available in solar power at 14 rupees, not very long time ago. Today it's come down to 2 rupees and something. That transition couldn't have happened unless enough ecosystem was developed, enough generation was happening, equipments were available, manufacturing for setting up solar or wind energy units. These were all facilitated in the last few years, and thereby the price of solar energy has come down. And similarly, today in this budget as well, for evacuating power, solar power, which is being generated in Ladakh, we've allotted money so that that can come to, say, Haryana or UP, whichever is the nearest plains area, that from there we can bring it down too. So government is moving very fast in setting up infrastructure which is required once the generation happens of solar or wind or nuclear, or now with hydrogen and green ammonia. The way in which that industry is, much before it is ready to give us the supply, we are ready to receive it with the necessary infrastructure. That's the pace at which Government of India, because we need to fulfill our commitments. And also all of us are seeing the impact of climate change. Heavy landslips, unusual rains, cloud bursts, or drought in some areas. Areas which never received cyclone are all receiving it. So unless we are also readying ourselves both for receiving renewable energy, making it affordable, we really can't. I mean, I'll admit that the price of natural gas, which we thought will help quick transitioning or moving over to the fossil fuel, from the fossil fuel to renewable, suddenly when natural gas became so expensive and there were disruptions in the supply, all over the world countries have moved back to coal. India will have to take care of its population, therefore whatever we have to do in terms of coal, we will do. But at the pace at which we are moving, we are one of those few countries which are rapidly moving and transitioning into green energy.
Right, ma'am. And one final question before we have the questions from the audience members. It's not about budget. We know that gender divide, dealing with it is an ongoing process. Many in the audience and the nation look up to you as a woman achiever. But what is your side of the story, leading the high office, presenting the budget, leading the country's economy? What has been the experience been for you?
Well, it's been a very humbling experience, and what a kind of an opportunity that Honorable Prime Minister and the party has given me. I'm sometimes lost for words to say the feeling that I have, but I'm very grateful.
Right. On that note, let's now turn to our audience members for the questions that you may have for the Finance Minister. We can please request the volunteers to reach the people who want to ask a question. Ma'am, if you could identify yourself, your name, and then.
Good evening, ma'am, and good evening, everybody here present. Ma'am, everybody over here, I've been listening to your earlier conversation now also, that everybody is wanting reduce this, reduce that, reduce this. Always they expecting. Now, as a common man, I would like to suggest where we can take a remuneration and where we can increase our economy. There, in 1970s, when I was in school days, there was a saving schemes introduced for children right from the 5th class. And that credit goes to Andhra Bank, which had done that, as Sanchayika. That Sanchayika has, for some reason, has been stopped, and children were given an attractive doll-like, which was called Kiddie Bank. That really attracted lots of children in saving. They inculcated this saving habit. Until they have that saving habit from the young age, they will not attain when they go big. So I would request and suggest that can be again revoked and started in children in every schools, so that the norm in the school, children know how to do banking, how to withdraw cash, how to save their money, how to use their money with useful, any useful requirement only they should use. They will be economically using it, but at the same time, they should not be misguided and misusing the funds what they are getting from their parents. In order to secure that, I would request the parents may be kept as an SMS alert for withdrawal and deposit, so that what money is given by the parents to the youngsters does not go into wrong hands and wrong habits. That's one thing I would like to say. And the street vendors, which we are talking about Atmanirbhar Bharat, and I keep moving around and propagate on the schemes by our Honorable Minister, Prime Minister, and being a Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao chairman, I have gone into lots of Anganwadi schools and many slum schools also. What I could notice here is the locking period for each street vendors, we can start off with daily finance. They are borrowing it from some local financer and paying high rate of interest. There are many people who have done suicide also. So they do, at the time of emergency, they are borrowing money from the local finances, I mean the private finances, which cost them lots of interest.
Right.
Rather than that,
the question bit,
there's the last one,
yeah.
please.
Briefly,
Let me complete
yeah.
it, please.
Briefly, please. Yes.
Yeah, I would suggest 100 rupees per day from every street vendor if it is collected. It works out for 2 years locking period. Then you make it as 365 days into 2 years. It comes to 730 days. At that 730 days, amounts up to 27,000. And if government can, 73,000, sorry. It works out to 73,000, which central government can also give a subsidy of 27,000, which makes it to 1 lakh per head. So a small vendor getting a 1 lakh of his own savings with an interest of 36 rupees 98 paisa per day will really add to his value for doing more of survey, more of business, and stand on his own to support his family.
Okay, ma'am. Then let's hear in from ma'am about her perspective. The first one, of course, was about the savings culture.
Yes. I've heard her. These are suggestions. Yes. She can further send the paper to me. I can.
Absolutely, you can share the. But do you have any thoughts about inculcating the savings culture, ma'am? Earlier, you did mention that.
Thank you so much.
What they want to do.
Thank you, ma'am.
This time, marking the 75th anniversary of India's independence, Azadi Ka, we've come up with a Mahila Bachat scheme with a assured rate of interest for 2 years saving. You start it off from now, or you even start your saving as of 31st March 2024. It's still available for 2 years.
Right.
2025, sorry, 2 years from now.
Right. If you can have the next question from the audience
I am
members.
Dr. G.V. Rao, economist. At the outset, it is highly commendable that in the midst of pandemic scenario, ours is the first country to come out and continue the growth path. I highly appreciate the government and especially the finance minister. My simple question is, new regime is really appreciable, which I have spoken on many platforms also, because it is giving a freedom to the people to invest the way they want to insure. Why not we make it compulsory, madam, from next academic year in the interest of people only?
You just heard some time back I was accused of why are you not
Don't worry about that, madam.
Savings.
Sometimes a parent, when he does something, child also may not appreciate immediately. But they will know. I made one calculation as an economist. If somebody is working with the freedom, their investments over a period of time, instead of putting in ATC clutches, the whole benefit over a period of 25 years will be more than 1 crore advantage will be there for him over a period of 25 years. Whereas if they are going with a rigid way of putting only in the insurance in which they wanted, I am sorry if some insurance companies or somebody is, or some chartered accountants are not happy that individuals are able to file return by themselves. But it is very good in the interest of common man and all the people of the country. Their savings on the whole will go up. New regime is an excellent regime. In course of time, please think over to make it mandatory.
The support increasing for the new regime. If you can move on to the next observation or question, please.
Namaskaram, madam. My name is Bhaskar Reddy. I'm from Vaidatru Pharma. Madam, thanks for allotting pharma parks all over the country. At the same time, I have a small request. Getting skilled people, especially in chemical sector, is becoming very tough. If we can, something like a skill training center, attach it to the pharma parks will help us a lot. That is one thing. And secondary, if government can publish critical compounds or high value, high volume compounds on a common internet platform, accessible to all pharma sector or chemical sector, that will help industry as well as government also to grow in this sector. That is second one. And third one, we have developed a product called beta-propionolactone that is used in vaccination, mandatory for making vaccination. We need some help to getting approvals for this kind of products easily in our, to make our self-sustain instead of importing that. First time in India we made it. We need some help in getting approvals for this. Thank you, madam. Thanks a lot.
Ma'am, would you like to add something on the pharmaceutical part? Because we also have a deliberation after the session on the pharmaceutical sectors, the manner in which you are prioritizing their concerns.
Yes, I'll do it then.
And
I'll do it then.
Right. Okay. Sure. Go on.
Yeah. Good afternoon, ma'am. It's such an interactive session. And I'm Madhu Tyagi, National President and Director from COVI, Confederation of Women Entrepreneur. So my specific question is regarding to the women entrepreneur in the rural area, where the government has brought many schemes for their development, but what happens, it doesn't reach them. So my suggestion, it might be like you think it is not possible, but still a suggestion that as the chartered accountant, each chartered accountant is given 20 clients. So why not one woman client also of such areas that she gets all information and what she want to do, at least some guidance. What happens? They go to the wrong people who know about it, but they don't help, or else they ask hefty amount to get through this proposal. And finally, it's a harassment to a woman in the rural area especially.
Good evening, madam. This is Jairamlu, United Nations Chief Expert, 2045. My simple question is, how the capital investment is going to manufacturing in India policy and the growth will be calculated? This is a very simple question, madam. Thank you. How the capital investment is taking towards manufacturing of the units? Number one, the differential policy is taking. The second,
We don't set up manufacturing units.
No, not government, madam. The policy towards the manufacturing of the units. The policy towards the manufacturing units and how the taking place for the growth calculation for this one.
Both
Thank you, madam.
Make in India, and also even in this budget, when we emphasized on AI, we said make in India, make AI for India also. So that and the PM Gati Shakti are all ways through which Indian manufacturing capacity is being
Definitely, madam, it is taking whenever I go to the different countries, as an even United Nations, we are finding something because I am getting some answers, because as an Indian, I wanted to really bring certain issues to the India. That's what my question was, madam.
Right,
Thank you.
Right. Made your point, sir. Ma'am, if
Hello.
we can come to you.
Honorable Madam.
Can I have this lady who's gotten up 3 times and sat down again?
Yeah,
speak
GBK
first?
Rao.
So we'll just hear from
We'll
ma'am
have
first
this
and
lady
after
talk first.
Okay.
Ma'am, good to have you in Hyderabad, Richa from Business Line.
Yes.
And we must compliment you for the budget. You know, journalists normally are not being very kind to you, but a very confident budget it was. Ma'am, very specific question. You have elaborated on CapEx right now. You, from the center, have done your bit. Now, do you think this will crowd in private investments? And my second take, ma'am, states are not very kind as far as CapEx is concerned. You have handheld them, you have brought them, given them your bit. How do you propose to, convince them into coming out with a better capex plan? And I had a supplement question also, ma'am. Sorry, I don't want to keep interrupting others time and again. In your previous budget, ma'am, you had spoken about overseas bond, we trying to tap the bond indices. So we were expecting something in this budget also. So any forward movement happening there, ma'am? These were my two questions.
Well, the first thing about crowding in of private investments, I think there are clear movements in that because of the PLI, a lot of private sector has expanded its capacity. They're bringing in newer investments in those sunrise areas. The rapid rate at which the renewable sector is moving with the production both of solar and wind cannot happen without private sector investments. The hydrogen mission I have probably announced this time, but even last time I had a mention of it. There's already a lot of attention to hydrogen mission, ammonia, green, and investments happening in different states for these as well. So somewhere I feel when we talk about private investments, both from the point of view of increasing the existing capacity and from the point of view of establishing new capacities, we don't seem to see those investments which are happening in the sunrise sectors. Even in pharma, between 2020 and today, the interest that is expanding, and you just heard a gentleman speak about the newer areas in pharma for which he is seeking easier, better approvals. So the sunrise sectors, the PLI driven sectors that is, and also the renewable area are all now rich in many types of investments which are coming, which are also pooling in monies from abroad. That's one. So it's not as if the private sector is not coming in and the public sector capex is going up. And the second that you asked me about the states, I think in one of the answers I mentioned clearly, states are showing actually a lot of interest. Some of the states are even now asking for more than what was allotted to them as per the formula which is given by the Finance Commission for tax devolution. The same formula has been used for disbursing this as well. And interestingly, last year when I had given 1 lakh crore, we had said 80% would go unconditional and the rest 20 will go with some condition of reforms attached to it. I was surprised at states even picking up on those conditional ones, where they'll have to undertake a reform, achieve it, and then say, look, I've cleared that, so give me that money as well. Many states have come into that band as well. So states are actually moving. The first year may have been a bit doubtful in that some states did, many did not. Last year I saw many did and some others have done, but not as much as they can. This year I expect all of them, because everybody has understood the way in which it works. So states will take it up.
Right. We'll turn to some questions from journalists now. We have members of media organizations from across the
Sorry,
country.
what about? Oh. Well, if there's something I'll always say.
Namaskar ji. I am GBK Rao, Pragati Sudhama. The biodiversity is the time of the hour, which pandemic we have seen. Instead of going allopathic medicines, we are spending so much money. Why not our traditional medicine, Ayurveda, which is very important, like Amrita Kal, that is Amrit Ahar, which is the millets, and also the instead of coffee, tea, kashayams, that herbal decoctions, instead of sugarcane sugar, that is going for the palm jaggery, and instead of refined oils, going for our Katigan, the cold press oils. In this direction, if you go, the health point of view, we are spending so much money. Why can't you go with the Amritakal budget as Amrit Ahar?
I thought the Ayush Ministry is doing that.
But still there is a promotion is not to the extent this, the four things which I said about the millets and herbal and sugarcane, instead of sugarcane sugar, promoting that palm jaggery and instead of refined oils or
But you made your point,
precise.
sir. I think that point has been noted. If you can please
Good
have the
evening,
journalists put
good
their
evening,
questions,
madam.
Good
please.
evening, ma'am. I'm Santoshi Buddhiraju. I should first thank the Government of India. I'm an SIFS beneficiary. So I'm a manufacturing startup that is into heavy manufacturing, trenchers we manufacture. I'm an IIT graduate. Actually, in my journey, I realized in last 3 to 5 years, the government support for startups has been incredible. But yes, when it comes to manufacturing, the manufacturing is very capital intensive, and access to funding for the startups which are trying to do something in manufacturing is actually becoming very difficult. Yes, when you speak about digital, IT, any startups in those lines, it's much easier, but when it comes to manufacturing startups, it's getting tougher. So we just wanted to check if the ministry can consider encouragement of public funding, which will help individuals to invest in startups at par with the equity markets. If you guys, like I'm a Startup India seed fund vetted startup, where I know you've given us the fund, we've done some magic with that, but yes, there's a lot more magic we can do as a startup. So in such cases, what can the ministry help us to do?
Through the SIDBI fund of funds, you think that that's not addressing the issue?
Ma'am, again, there's a...
The SIDBI has a fund of funds through which they leverage the money given by the government and raise monies in the market, and through that they support startups. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, or if you've used it, you still think that is not enough.
Ma'am, when we say if it is used or not enough, we've actually not used any of that. But when it comes to heavy machinery or whatever, we want to reshape the global supply chains, which we are looking at, it requires huge intensive capitals. So for such things, how can we...
That is where we have found the NABFID, National Bank for Funding Infrastructure Development, which is the long-term monies, risk invested money, meaning the high risk money, which doesn't have a short-term return, is being funded by what is called a development bank. We have created that. NABFID is a government created developmental bank which aims at funding long-term infrastructure projects in which you probably can also fit in. Similarly, there is the National Infrastructure Investment Fund, which is also funded by the government. Even they raise money out of the public, and with the government's given money, they raise money from others as well. And they also look for projects where they think there is a future. You may want to apply to NIIF and ask them if your conditions suit them.
Right, and if you can have the questions in brief now, our journalist friends, media fraternity, please reach out to the mic and put your questions.
I am Rajiv from the Hindu. My question is twofold. One about the criticism that the center is stifling the voice of states by imposing restrictions on their borrowing limits and other things is one. That has been a frequent criticism these days. The second one is about the cesses and surcharges. You know, our government, at least Telangana government, is on record saying, you know, out of the 41% devolution made by the 15th Finance Commission, only 29.3 or 29.4% is coming to them, because the rest of 11% is going to the center's kitty in the form of cesses and surcharges. Can you elaborate on these two?
Your first question was on
states, restrictions on states' borrowing capacities.
There is an article in the Constitution, Article 293, which very clearly says that the center will look at states' borrowing, and during the pandemic we had expanded it, and when during the pandemic we had also to borrow and give the states, we had made sure that we do a back-to-back borrowing and give to the states for the GST compensation as well. States by constitution, because you're talking, saying states are saying this. And states quote, and rightly so, I have no complaints, states quote the constitution, saying center state. The article in the constitution gives the center the right to make sure that the borrowings are kept within a certain limit, And that limit is equally applied to all states. No one state can get more and the other one can get less. None of that happens. So the overall borrowing in this country will have to be in somebody's hands. And that is provisioned in the Constitution. And that's exactly what we're doing. And to say that we are restricting them from borrowing, no. You want to have over and above what has been given as borrowing limit for your state, 3% then increased to 4% during the pandemic. So when the borrowing requirements of a state becomes far more than what has been allowed, there are voices coming saying you can't restrict me from borrowing. So there is a very well established over the last 70 years practice of, per the Constitution, center looking at the borrowing limits of the states. It is not new. It has not come in 2014. It is not something which we have changed it to the disadvantage of the states. So that's my answer to your first question. The second, would you just remind me what was the second? 1 minute, on the 41%. It's all right for me to now read up as to how many this state has got, that state has got. In the parliament, on the cesses and surcharges, even during this budget speech discussion, I have shown how much more than what has been collected under one head of the cess, more has been dispersed to the states even under that head. So if I collect only say 1.5 crores, there are instances, this is not the exact number, I am giving you an example. There are instances where beyond the 1.5 crores, 1.5 thousand crores that I have collected, I have given up to 2,000 crores. Drawing from the consolidated fund, because that scheme for which it's been collected, because it's let's say education or health cess, we give it. And similar is the case also with the compensation cess. So, you know, repeatedly when states come up with these charges, and repeatedly, not any random place but in the parliament, I have given answers, and I humbly request the media, you may ask me any number of times, I may answer any number of times, how is it that you don't refer what has been given as an answer? I assume you have not. Parliament may, this was given as a reply, over and above this, do you still hold that charge? You should ask them. Parliament is not a place where you can forget the answer given. It's the fundamentally primary and highest place in a democracy, elected parliamentary democracy, where I'm standing up to give the answers with the data in my hand. I would humbly request the media, pause it and say, is it true? Is this answer not right?
Right.
Good evening, madam. This is Nagarjun on the side here.
Okay.
Good evening, madam. Thanks for your time. And my question is predominantly on the education system. I work as a vice president in Tech Mahindra, delivering services to
You were asking for the media, right?
Oh, we're taking the questions from media first, sir. So if you can just take the questions from our media friends.
No problem.
Finish with the...
No problem. Go ahead.
So the members of the media, if you can just reach out to the mic and put your questions. Please identify yourself, sir. I would request volunteers to make the mic accessible to the members of the media now.
Ma'am, thank you very much. I'm Ajay from Doordarshan News. You gave us the dream of $5 trillion economy in your one of the budget. It is also translating to the state level, because many states are now eyeing for $1 trillion economy, be it Uttar Pradesh, the government of Maharashtra, government of Karnataka, government of, I think, Gujarat. Ma'am, what is your message to the state governments now? Now you have presented the union budget. It is also on the states to take forward the mantra of Amrit Kal that you have put forward. So what's your real message for the state governments for their own budget?
Well, I'm not sure whether I should give a message. But states, of course, have their plans. Many states have got their plans for export. They have their plans for inviting more investments. This particular scheme whereby one district, one product be identified. Kisan Rail, which comes to pockets of products which are grown, like bananas are grown in one particular area, coconut, any other vegetables which are looking for export market. All of them have been facilitated by the Kisan Rail. Kisan Udan, which is also picking it up for air cargo. These are also happening, benefiting states, and their policy to help their own farmers can be greatly facilitated by this. This budget has also provision for a unity mall. What is that? It means that in every state capital or in the financial headquarters of the state or in a tourist a town which is known for its tourism, an Ekta mall be built, for which the center is also through the capital 50-year loan we are giving assistance. You build it for having stalls of your one district, one product, so that people know, oh, these are products from this state. And in that GI tagged products also from each state. Every state in India has enough and more GI identification obtained products, artisans, materials. In that unity mall, you will keep these products and also the one district, one product stalls in that one mall, and also provide space for other states whose products can also be exhibited. So if, for instance, the tourists who come to Hyderabad will go to the Unity Mall to see products which are of Telangana, all GI tagged or one district, one product stalls, and over and above that, every other state which wants to be exhibiting their products, they can also find a place here. So at one go, you give a experience for the tourist of your own products, your own GI tagged products, and also products of the rest of the country. So there are so many such measures which are being taken.
Right, we have time for just a couple of more questions from the media.
Yes,
go on.
I am Mir Hadi Ali, Chief Editor, Bemisal Urdu Daily. Madam, regarding minorities issue. Madam, ये लास्ट बजट में जो 5,000 करोड़ 2022-23 में दिया गया था, आपके इस बार 2023-24 में आपने ओनली 3,097 रखा है. इस तरह आउट ऑफ 45 लाख करोड़ के बजट में इस तरह का माइनॉरिटीज के साथ इनजस्टिस होते हुए के बजट में मेन एजुकेशन पर्पस से ही तमाम बजट को कम कर दिया गया है. मैं ये जानना चाहता हूं कि जिस तरह ये प्री मैट्रिक स्कॉलरशिप था लास्ट ईयर 1,425 करोड़, अब प्रेजेंटली ओनली 433 करोड़. नंबर 2, स्किल लाइफ और डिलीवरी में 392 था, आपके बाद ओनली 3.4 करोड़ आपने अलॉट किया. इस तरह से फ्री कोचिंग स्कीम में 79 करोड़ लास्ट ईयर था, आपके बाद ओनली 30 करोड़ आपने किया. इस तरह से ये हमारे माइनॉरिटीज के लिए जो बजट का एकदम इतना डाउन करते हुए, जबकि आप देख रहे हैं कि माइनॉरिटीज के स्टूडेंट्स सबसे ड्रॉबैक जो चल रहा है एजुकेशन में पीछे हैं. और इस बार हमारी हुकूमत, हालांकि इतना अच्छा बजट हमारे ऑनरेबल नरेंद्र मोदी जी के गवर्नमेंट में पेश किया गया आपके बस मेन पॉइंट यही है कि आपने जो माइनॉरिटीज बजट को जो कम किया गया है, आखिर उसकी वजह क्या है?
पार्लियामेंट में बजट के दौरान जो चर्चा हुआ उसमें मेंबर्स ऑफ पार्लियामेंट भी इस प्रश्न उठाए और उसका मैंने उधर विस्तार से जवाब दिया कि फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल बजट बनाने के समय हर एक मंत्रालय उनके अपने डिमांड रखते हैं कि हमें इतना पैसा अलॉट करो। जिन मंत्रालय ने जो मांगे वो ही हम देते हैं, उसका ऊपर नीचे 99% नहीं करते, क्योंकि आखिर वही है उस अलॉटमेंट को, उस बजट को, उनको जो पैसा दिया गया है उसको इंप्लीमेंट करने वाले अधिकारी वो होते हैं। इसीलिए डिपार्टमेंट के द्वारा जो भी आया है उसको हमने मंजूरी दिए, वो एक पॉइंट। सेकंड, जब फेलोशिप्स दूसरे 2-3 स्कॉलरशिप स्कीम्स के द्वारा मिलता है, इसमें एलोकेशन अलग अलग करने के कारण ही माइनॉरिटी को फेलोशिप मिल रहा है, ऐसे नहीं है, क्योंकि बाकी सब स्कीम्स के द्वारा भी माइनॉरिटीज को भी मिलता है। उसका नाम उदाहरण के साथ मैंने पार्लियामेंट में भी सामने रखी। सो माइनॉरिटीज को फेलोशिप कम करो नहीं, इतनी सारे स्कीम्स के द्वारा जो हो रही है वो भी चलने दो, उसके द्वारा जब नंबर इंक्रीज हो रही है उसको भी प्रोत्साहन दो, वो सेकंड है। तीसरी, ओवरऑल इस सरकार का प्रिंसिपल ऑफ डेवलपमेंट सबका साथ, सबका विकास, सबका विश्वास और सबका प्रयास। जब हम इस रास्ते पे चल रहे हैं, किसी को भेदभाव, मतलब आपके रिलीजन के कारण, आपके भाषा के कारण या आपके चेहरा के कारण या आपके कुछ और के कारण अलग नहीं देख रहे। सभी भारतीयों को सभी जो स्कीम्स है वो सबको मिलना चाहिए। इसीलिए आप देख रहे हैं कि घर बनाने के विषय में इस सड़क पर, इस पर्टिकुलर रोड पर, इस लेफ्ट हैंड साइड में एक, दूसरा, तीसरा, ऐसे करके जिन जिन को मिलना है उनका मिलता है। उसमें क्या आप फलना है, क्या आप ऐसे भाषा बोलते हो, ये आप दक्षिण से है, उत्तर से, कुछ भेदभाव नहीं है, सबको जिनको मिलना मिलता है। हाउसिंग हो, स्वच्छता हो, गैस हो, उज्ज्वला के, ऐसे करके सबका साथ जब सबका विकास के लिए काम करते हैं हम, वो इनको नहीं देना, इसको हटा दो, ऐसे हम करते नहीं है, बिल्कुल करते नहीं।
We'll take just one final question from a member of the media.
Hello. Agastya from TV9.
We just have one question from the media that we can take at the moment.
Excuse me.
A journalist, yes, please.
మేడం, మీ బడ్జెట్ ప్రవేశపెట్టిన తర్వాత ముఖ్యమంత్రి అసెంబ్లీలో మాట్లాడుతూ 3 ప్రశ్నలు, అంటే మేజర్గా చాలా ప్రశ్నలు వేశారు, బట్ 3 ప్రశ్నలు ఆయన అడిగిన వాటిలో ఒకటి, మీరు ఏదైతే $5 trillion
could you please identify yourself first, sir?
అగస్త్య ఫ్రమ్ TV9.
TV9.
Yes.
సో ముఖ్యమంత్రి అన్నారు $5 trillion మీరు ఏదైతే టార్గెట్ పెట్టుకున్నారో అది ఇట్ సెల్ఫ్, ఆయన కోర్టులో చెప్పాలంటే అది సిల్లీ జోక్ అని ఆయన అన్నారు. ఆ టార్గెట్ చాలా తక్కువ, అయినప్పటికీ అది రీచ్ కాలేరని ఆయన ఫస్ట్ స్టేట్మెంట్. రెండోది, ఉపాధి హామీకి నిధులు తగ్గించారని ఇంకొక స్టేట్మెంట్ ఆయన చేశారు. ఈ రెండింటికి ఏం చెప్తారు?
ఇవాళ ఇక్కడ ఉన్నాను, మీరు అడుగుతున్నారు కాబట్టి చెప్తున్నా. ఈ ఉపాధి హామీ పథకం మీద కూడా నేను చాలా వివరంగా పార్లమెంట్లో జవాబిచ్చాను. దాని సారాంశం మీకు చెప్తున్నా. అక్కడ ఉపాధి హామీ పథకం అనేది డిమాండ్ డ్రివెన్, అంటే ఈ నెలలో ఇక్కడ ఉపాధి హామీ పథకం జాబ్ కార్డ్ అంటారు. జాబ్ కార్డులో ఎంతమంది ఉన్నారు, వాళ్ళకి ఎంత జాబ్ పోతుంది, ఎన్నాళ్ళు ఇవ్వాలి అనేది చూసుకొని డిమాండ్ వస్తుంది. దాని మేరకి మేము ఫండ్ అలాట్ చేస్తాం. ప్రతి సంవత్సరం కూడా 2014 నుంచి ఇవాళ వరకు బీఈలు ఎంత, అంటే బడ్జెట్ టైంలో మనం ఎంత చెప్తున్నామో అంతకంటే ఎక్కువ అమౌంట్ సంవత్సరం ఆఖరికి ఖర్చు పెడుతున్నాం. అది సప్లిమెంటరీ డిమాండ్ ఫర్ గ్రాంట్ బడ్జెట్లో వస్తున్నప్పుడు ఎక్కువ కావాలంటే పార్లమెంట్లో పర్మిషన్ తీసుకుని ఆ ఎక్కువ కూడా ఖర్చు పెడుతున్నాం. అది నేను డేటా పరంగా పార్లమెంట్లో చెప్పాను. మా టైంలో 2014 నుంచి ఒక్కొక్కసారి బడ్జెట్ నుంచి కంపేర్ చేయండి, ఆఖరికి ఎంత ఖర్చు పెట్టాం, ఎక్కువే చేసాం. ప్రతిసారి బడ్జెట్ కంటే ఎక్కువ అట్ ద ఎండ్ ఖర్చు అయింది. ఇదే నేను కొంచెం ఇలా చెప్తున్నాను అనుకోవద్దు. ముఖ్యమంత్రి గారు ఇప్పుడు ఏం జరగట్లే, అప్పుడు బాగా స్మూత్గా జరిగితే కూడా చెప్పారు, నేను విన్నాను. అప్పుడంటే 2014 నుంచి 2014కి ముందు ఉన్నటువంటి ప్రధాని వారు పేరు తీసుకొని ఆ టైంలో బాగా జరిగింది. ఈ ఉపాధి హామీ పథకం ఆ టైంలో ఎలా ఉండింది అనేది కూడా నేను మీకు డేటాతో పార్లమెంట్లో చెప్పాను. 2010లో బడ్జెట్ టైంలో ఎంత ఇచ్చారు, ఆఖరికి ఎంత ఖర్చు అయింది. 3 వంతులు బడ్జెట్ టైంలో చెప్పినది కంటే తక్కువే ఖర్చు పెట్టారు. అన్ని బాగా జరిగింది అన్నవారు అది కూడా కొంచెం చెక్ చేసుకోవాలి, ఇది బాగా జరిగిందా అని కూడా చెక్ చేసుకోమని నేను రిక్వెస్ట్ చేస్తున్నాను మీ ద్వారా ముఖ్యమంత్రి గారిని. ఉపాధి హామీ పథకంలో 2014 తర్వాత మోదీ గారు ఖర్చు పెట్టినటువంటి అమౌంట్ ఇప్పటి వరకు ఆ పథకాన్ని తీసుకొచ్చి మా పథకం మెప్పుకు మాట్లాడుతున్న వాళ్ళు ఖర్చు పెట్టలేదు, అదే నిజం. సో అది ఉపాధి హామీ పథకం. మీకు కావాలంటే TV9 మీ పేరు మర్చిపోతున్నాను, అగస్త్య మీకు నేను డేటా నేను పార్లమెంట్లో ఏదైతే చెప్పానో అది మీకు పంపిస్తాను. మీరు డేటా ముందు పెట్టుకొని నేను చెప్పేది నిజమా లేదని చూడండి. మీ మొదటి ప్రశ్న ఇది, రెండోది 5 ట్రిలియన్ ఎకానమీ. దీని గురించి నేను ఇంకో విషయం కూడా చెప్పదలుచుకున్నా. ఒక గోల్ పెట్టుకుని దానికోసం గట్టిగా ప్రయత్నించి దాన్ని ఆ గోల్కి దగ్గర మనం చేర్చుకోవాలి అని ప్లాన్ చేస్తున్నాం. ఇక్కడ ఒక జర్నలిస్ట్నే అనుకుంటున్నాం, ఒక పెద్ద ఆయన లేచి చెప్పారు, ప్రతి స్టేట్ తన ఒక వంతు తన ఒక కాంట్రిబ్యూషన్ ఎంత ఉండాలి. ఈ 5 ట్రిలియన్ ఎకానమీలో మేము 1 ట్రిలియన్ వరకు చేసి చూపిస్తాం. ఇంకోటి చెప్తున్నారు మేము కూడా 1.25 ట్రిలియన్ వరకు వెళ్తాం అని. దేశం వ్యాప్తంగా ఆ 5 ట్రిలియన్ అచీవ్ చేయడానికి మన అందరూ కూడా ప్రయత్నం చేయాలి. నేను ఇంకోటి చెప్పాను, సబ్కా సాత్ సబ్కా వికాస్ సబ్కా ప్రయాస్ విశ్వాస్ మధ్యలో ఉంది. సబ్కా ప్రయాస్ అనే ఆ భావనతోటి అందరూ ముందుకు వెళ్తున్నప్పుడు ఇది ఏంటి 5 ట్రిలియన్ జోక్ అని అంటే జనాన్ని వెక్కిరిస్తూ మాట్లాడుతున్నారా? ఈ ప్లాన్ నేను లేకపోతే ప్రధాని గారు ఇలా అక్కడ ఉన్న వాళ్ళ కోసం కాదు, దేశాని కోసం, మన అందరూ బాగుపడాలి అనే దానికోసం ఆ 5 ట్రిలియన్లో మేము కూడా కాంట్రిబ్యూట్ చేస్తామని ఒక్కొక్కరు ఒక్క స్టేట్లో చెప్తున్నారు. అది కాదు, మనం ఇక్కడ ఏం చెప్తాం, అది జోక్ అంటే ఎవరు జోక్ అంటే జనాన్ని మీరు జోక్ అంటున్నారా? వాళ్ళ కోసం మనం చేసే పథకాన్ని జోక్ అంటున్నారా? అవమర్యాద కాదా? జనానికి అవమర్యాద కాదా? ఇది జనాన్ని విక్రిస్తున్నారా మీరు? సరే, 60,000 స్వచ్ఛం అప్పు ఉండేది తెలంగాణకి 2014లో.
మేడం
ఒక్క నిమిషం అండి, వీరికి ఇంకా కొంచెం ఎలాబరేట్గా జవాబిస్తున్నా, మీకు కూడా వస్తా. 60,000 crores వరకు ఏదో అప్పు ఉండేది, అప్రాక్సిమేట్ అమౌంట్. ఆ అమౌంట్ 2014లో అప్పు తెలంగాణకి దగ్గర ఒక 15 సంవత్సరం 3-4 గవర్నమెంట్స్ మార్చు అక్యుములేట్ అయిన అమౌంట్. నేను ఏదో ఒక్క గవర్నమెంట్ వల్ల వచ్చిందని నేను చెప్పలే, కానీ పాండమిక్ వచ్చింది, మన అందరూ కూడా అప్పులు తీసుకున్నాం, సెంట్రల్ తీసుకున్నాం, స్టేట్కి ఇచ్చాం, స్టేట్ వాళ్ళ అప్పులు కూడా పెంచారు లేదండి. ఆ మర్యాద మనసులో పెట్టుకునే చెప్తున్నా, పాండమిక్ వచ్చింది, మన అందరూ కూడా అప్పు తీర్చుకోవాల్సిన పద్ధతి స్టేజ్కి వచ్చేసాం, అప్పు తీసుకున్నాం, తెచ్చుకున్నాం, అది తీరుస్తూ పోతాం. సో అందరికీ కూడా పాండమిక్ కారణంగా ఎక్కువ అప్పు తీర్చుకోవాల్సిన పద్ధతి పొజిషన్ వచ్చింది అనేది మనసులో పెట్టుకునే మాట్లాడుతున్నాం. 2014లో తెలంగాణ అప్పు ఎంత? 60,000 స్వచ్ఛం కోట్లు. ఈ గడిచిన 7-8 సంవత్సరంలో అంటే రెండు సారి తెలంగాణలో ఇదే గవర్నమెంట్ ఉండగా అప్పు ఎంత అయిందండి? దీంట్లో కొంచెం మినహాయించుకోవచ్చు కోవిడ్ కోసం 3 లక్షల కోట్లు దాటిపోయింది. 5 ట్రిలియన్కి కాంట్రిబ్యూట్ చేసేది గురించి నువ్వు మాట్లాడకు, వెటకారంగా మాట్లాడండి, జనాన్ని ఏళ్ళ పరుస్తున్నట్టు మాట్లాడండి. కానీ బాబు మీ అప్పు గురించి ఒకసారి నాకు చెప్పండి. అందరూ కోవిడ్ కోసం అప్పు తీసుకున్నావు లేదన్నా, కానీ ఒక్క తెలంగాణ 60,000 కోట్లు 2014లో ఉండగా ఇవాళ 3 లక్షల కోట్లు దాటింది అప్పు. 5 ట్రిలియన్ గురించి జోక్ చేయక ప్లీజ్. 5 ట్రిలియన్ గురించి దయచేసి సీఎం గారు జోక్ చేయవద్దు. దీని గురించి కొంచెం మనందరం బాధ్యతగా మాట్లాడితే బాగుంటుంది.
Right, but that's all the time we had, I'm afraid. That's all the time we had. Okay.
మేడం అజయ్ అండి 10 టీవీ. సీఎం గారు అసెంబ్లీలో మాట్లాడుతూ కేంద్ర ప్రభుత్వ బడ్జెట్ ఎలా ఉందంటే శుష్క ప్రియాలు శూన్యహస్తాలు లాగా ఉంది. శుష్క ప్రియాలు శూన్యహస్తాలు, చెప్పేవి పెద్దగా ఉంటాయి, చేసేవి తక్కువ ఉంటాయి. దాదాపు 150కి పైగా కాలేజీలను, మెడికల్ కాలేజీలను దేశవ్యాప్తంగా ఇచ్చినప్పటికీ తెలంగాణకు ఇచ్చింది మాత్రం గుండు 0 అంటూ ఆయన మాట్లాడినటువంటి సందర్భం. ఎట్ ది సేమ్ టైం నర్సింగ్ కాలేజీల విషయంలో కూడా తెలంగాణకు అన్యాయం చేశారు. ఇంకొక విషయం ఏంటంటే రాష్ట్రం నుండి దాదాపు 4 లక్షల కోట్లకు పైగా పన్నుల రూపేణా కేంద్ర ప్రభుత్వానికి పంపినప్పటికీ కూడా తిరిగి రాష్ట్రానికి వచ్చింది 150 కోట్లు, 1,50,000 కోట్లు మాత్రమే. ఇది కాదంటే నేను రాజీనామా చేస్తానంటూ కూడా మంత్రి కేటీఆర్ పదే కామెంట్స్ చేస్తున్నటువంటి సందర్భం కనబడుతుంది. దీనికి ఎట్లా సమాధానం చెప్తారు?
మీరు మొదటి ప్రశ్న ఈ మెడికల్ కాలేజెస్ గురించి చెప్పారు. ఈ బడ్జెట్లో మనం చెప్పినది ఏంటండి, 157 మెడికల్ కాలేజెస్ 2014 నుంచి ఇవాళ వరకు ఎస్టాబ్లిష్ అయ్యాయి. ఆ 157 కాలేజెస్ ఎక్కడ ఉన్నాయో అక్కడ నర్సింగ్ కాలేజెస్ కొత్తగా తీసుకొచ్చి పెడతాం అన్నాం. ఆ 157లో తెలంగాణలో ఒక్క కాలేజ్ కూడా రాలేదు అని పెట్టుకుని కొంచెం బాధ రావడం న్యాచురలే, లేదన్న. కానీ అప్పుడు ఆ 157 కాలేజెస్ ఎస్టాబ్లిష్ చేయడానికి అప్పుడు ఏ డిస్ట్రిక్ట్లో మీ దగ్గర మెడికల్ కాలేజెస్ లేవో ఆ డిస్ట్రిక్ట్ పేరుని పంపించండి, అక్కడ మేము ఎస్టాబ్లిష్ చేస్తాం అని కేంద్ర ప్రభుత్వం చెప్పినప్పటికీ కరీంనగర్, ఖమ్మం జిల్లా పేరుని పంపిస్తే బాబు అక్కడ ఆల్రెడీ ఉందండి కాలేజీ, వేరే జిల్లాలో ఎక్కడ లేదు, ఆ జిల్లా పేరుని పంపించండి అని అంటే పంపించక ఆ 157లో మాకు ఇవ్వలేదు అని ఇప్పుడు కంప్లైంట్ చేస్తే ఎలాగా? మీరు పంపించిన డిస్ట్రిక్ట్ ఏమిటి? అక్కడ మెడికల్ కాలేజ్ ఉంది కాబట్టి 157లో ఒకటి కూడా మీకు రాలేదు. అందువల్ల ఇప్పుడు నర్సింగ్ కాలేజెస్ ఎక్కడ మెడికల్ కాలేజ్ ఉందో అక్కడే పెడతాయి. యాక్చువల్లీ దానికి సినర్జీ ఉంటుంది, అందుకనే అక్కడ పెడతామంటే మెడికల్ కాలేజీ ఇవ్వలేదు, నర్సింగ్ కాలేజీ ఇవ్వలేదు అని అంటే బాబు మీరు ఎప్పుడు మీరు డేటా సరిగా ఇవ్వాలో అప్పుడు మీరు ఇవ్వకుండా పైగా ఎప్పుడు అసెంబ్లీ నిలబడితే కూడా ఎన్డి అంటే నో డేటా గవర్నమెంట్ అంటున్నారు. మీకు మీ జిల్లాలో ఎక్కడ హాస్పిటల్ ఉందనే డేటావే లేనప్పుడు ఎక్కడండి అసెంబ్లీ నిలబడి ఈ మాటలు చెప్పడం? డేటా వీళ్ళ దగ్గర ఏంటి 32 జిల్లా 33 జిల్లాలో మీకు ఎక్కడ మెడికల్ కాలేజ్ ఉంది లేదు అని తెలియకుండా ఏదో పేరు పంపించేస్తున్నప్పుడు నో డేటా గవర్నమెంట్ అని అంటున్నారా? మీ దగ్గర మీ జిల్లాలో ఉన్న హాస్పిటల్ ఎక్కడ ఉందని తెలియదు, కరీంనగర్, ఖమ్మం పేరు పంపించి అక్కడ హాస్పిటల్ ఉంది అనగా కూడా. సో ఇది ఐఎమ్ సారీ, కొంచెం మన అందరం కూడా కొంచెం హోంవర్క్ చేసుకొని మాట్లాడితే, ఫ్యాక్ట్ తోటి మాట్లాడితే బాగుంటుంది. ఇట్లాగే ఇది విషయం, తెలంగాణ నుంచి ఇంత డబ్బు వెళ్తుంది అంతే వస్తుంది, ఏదో లక్ష్యం ఏదో చెప్తున్నారు కదండి. ఒక్క నిమిషం, ఇఫ్ యూ టాలరేట్ మీ, ఐల్ గివ్ యూ సమ్ డేటా. ట్యాక్స్ రెవల్యూషన్ మాట చెప్పారు మీరు. 2014 నుంచి 23 వరకు 1,30,000 కోట్లు వచ్చాయి ట్యాక్స్ రెవల్యూషన్. దీంట్లో పర్టికులర్లీ లాస్ట్ 3 years పర్టికులర్గా చెప్తున్నా, 21-22లో 17,165 crores, 22-23లో 19,668 crores, 23-24లో 21,470 crores. ఇవి వచ్చాయండి ట్యాక్స్ డెవల్యూషన్లో. తర్వాత మళ్ళీ వస్తా, గ్రాంట్స్ ఇన్ ఎయిడ్ గవర్నమెంట్ ఆఫ్ ఇండియా నుంచి తెలంగాణ గవర్నమెంట్కి రావడం, అది 1,39,000 కోట్లు వచ్చాయి బిట్వీన్ 2014 and 2023. గ్రాంట్స్ ఇన్ ఎయిడ్ నంబర్ రిపీట్ చెప్తున్నా, 139,000, 1,39,000 crores వచ్చాయి. తర్వాత రైల్వే ఇన్ఫ్రాస్ట్రక్చర్ అండ్ సేఫ్టీ ప్రాజెక్ట్స్కి మాత్రం ఈ బడ్జెట్ ద్వారా 23-24లో 4,418 crores కేటాయించి ఈ బడ్జెట్లో ఉన్నాయి. లాస్ట్ ఇయర్ 22-23 ఎండింగ్, లాస్ట్ ఇయర్ అంటే 23 మార్చ్ 31 ఇప్పుడు ఎండ్ అవుతుంది. దాంట్లో 3,048 crores, 3,048 crores వచ్చాయి తెలంగాణకి. ఇది కాకుండా ఈ బడ్జెట్లో చెప్పిన 2-3 అంశాలు నంబర్ తోటి చెప్పలే, నేను ఐటమ్స్ చెప్తున్నా. ఇండియన్ ఇన్స్టిట్యూట్ ఆఫ్ మిల్లెట్ రీసెర్చ్ హైదరాబాద్కే సెంటర్ ఆఫ్ ఎక్సలెన్స్ ఇచ్చి దాన్ని కూడా డెవలప్ చేయడానికి అనౌన్స్మెంట్ అయింది, ఇంటర్నేషనల్ లెవెల్లో చేయడానికి. అలాగే భారత్ షేర్డ్ రిపాజిటరీ ఆఫ్ ఇన్స్క్రిప్షన్స్, అది కిషన్ రెడ్డి గారు మంత్రి గారు ఆర్కియలాజికల్ సర్వే హైదరాబాద్లో ఉన్నది తోటి చేయబోతున్నాం అని బడ్జెట్లోనూ అనౌన్స్ చేయించుకున్నారు. ఇది కాకుండా నేషనల్ డేటా గవర్నెన్స్ పాలసీ, ఇక్కడ డేటా హబ్ మీది ఐటీ లార్జెస్ట్ ఐటీ హబ్ అని మాట్లాడుకుంటున్నారు. ఆ పాలసీ ద్వారా అనానిమస్ డేటాని ఎలా యూజ్ చేసుకొని దాని నుంచి బెనిఫిట్ తీసుకోవచ్చు అనే దానికోసం పాలసీ, అది హైదరాబాద్కు ప్రత్యేకంగా తెలంగాణకు ప్రత్యేకంగా డైరెక్ట్లీ బెనిఫిట్ అయ్యే పాలసీ, అది ఇచ్చేమా కాదండి. ఇలాగే దేశవ్యాప్తంగా 51 ఫార్మా పిఎల్ఐ స్కీమ్ ద్వారా 51 స్కీమ్స్, 51 ఫార్మా సెక్టర్ రిలేటెడ్ స్కీమ్స్ దేశవ్యాప్తంగా ఉన్నాయి. 51 విత్ పిఎల్ఐ బెనిఫిట్ సెంటర్స్ ఆర్ స్కీమ్స్ విచ్ హ్యావ్ బీన్ ప్రమోటెడ్. ఆ 51లో 15 తెలంగాణలో ఉన్నాయి. పిఎల్ఐ స్కీమ్ ద్వారా బెనిఫిట్ దేశవ్యాప్తంగా 51 సెంటర్లో ఉందనంటే దాంట్లో 15 తెలంగాణలో ఉంది. సో కొంచెం మనం నంబరు చూసుకోవాలి, ప్రాజెక్ట్స్ చూసుకోవాలి, దాని తర్వాత మాట్లాడాలి.
Right, on that note, ma'am, thank you very much for joining us in DD Dialogue. That's also the conclusion of this Q&A session. Let's put our hands together for the spirit of conversation, taking forward the conversations on the budget. Thank you very much, ma'am, for joining us for this conversation.
That was really an enriching session, ma'am. I thank you, ma'am, and the moderators as well. It was an immense pleasure to have you amongst us for this DD Dialogue Amrit Kaal budget. And now inviting the Principal Director General Doordarshan to please present your memento. Thank you, ma'am.
हो गया इंतजाम। किसका? गुड्डी की फीस का। दिखा, 20,000 का लोन तुरंत।